Hello, viewers. Hi, people. How are you? Hope you've been well. We have been well. It's really nice to be back again on Upside Wealth, where we get to discuss everything about money, things that really matter, what is important, where we get to just talk to each other, engage, and find out how are we doing financially. Are we making sound financial decisions? Are there places where we feel we need to make changes, and how do we help each other to make those changes? So, again, today on our episode, we want to discuss financial booby traps. Yeah. And we're going to be breaking it down to you what financial booby traps look like, at what point you should start getting worried, or what you really need to think through. And as usual, I have Masharia with me, Timothy.
Yes, Joy.
Hi.
Good.
Have you been?
I'm well.
Uh-huh.
I hope you too.
I am also fine.
And also our listeners.
I hope they are also doing well. And I hope you really found our last episode quite impactful. We talked about hedonic adaptation. I hope you've sat down and thought through what is that thing that you've adapted through, or what is that thing that you really bought or did out of thrill and happiness. And it's good to think through it with your friends. How happy are you till now? Anyway, with that said, like I said, we are going to be going through our financial booby traps, and just maybe to introduce it to us. It sounds like a big word, booby traps, but basically, in a nutshell, financial booby traps talks about traps and pitfalls. These are things or mistakes that you could make that could literally lead to financial loss or even hardships if they are not well navigated. So, Masharia, you want to start us off on that?
Yes, Joy.
Yes.
And today I want us to concentrate on two of the biggest financial booby traps.
Okay.
Over the series and over even the episodes that we have done, and even the foundation of what we discuss here, is looking at how our financial journeys is faced by our behavioral aspects. So we will always tend to look at the behavior side of it, the psychological side of it, how we go in making decisions, because I think it is more reinforcing when we understand ourselves better. There is a long Buddhist mantra that is said, know thyself. Knowing yourself is halfway into making good decisions and correct decisions.
Yeah.
And number two is accepting that we are not rational human beings. We are not rational. We are very emotional.
Emotional beings, yes.
And evaluating then ourselves from that angle is very important. So today we are looking at, especially in the current world, what are our vulnerabilities and our tendencies? What are those things that push us to making long decisions? And two of them are very striking and very important in the context of today's settings. And number one is a psychological phenomenon that is not very old. I would call it current phenomenon. It's called FOMO, the fear of missing out.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah, you actually, when you're having conversations with people, you'll hear people saying, hey, me, I'm struggling with FOMO. And people are like, what is FOMO? So Timothy has just explained it to us. It's fear of missing out.
It's a fear of missing out.
Yeah.
What are you missing? And especially in the current setting where there are technology that allows us to be extremely connected, then you cannot underestimate the force it has or the influence it has on the way then we make decisions. We have always said that every decision has a financial impact.
True.
Most of the times, the decisions we have made, the last episode we talked about our mind not being our own, that we are influences, or we exist because of the environment. It is the environment that shapes our thinking. And part of the environment is the influence that other people has on ourselves. Most of the times the decisions you've made is the decisions that we made because we did not want people to come and tell us stories of how it was. Unajua venye kulienda? No, you don't want that. You want to be at the center of the arena, to experience it yourself.
Yeah, true.
And the thing is then chasing that fear, not trying to be a secondary recipient to the action. Then it leads us to commit mistakes because there are financial commitments to those things. You are in a group of friends, whether at work or at home or at church. Some of them is acquaintances, and they are planning about something. More often when they give stories after something has happened, you imagine the way you missed. And so the next time you have a tendency of you being in the action. And you know what is even more striking about this? In my experience, and I hope even you too, is that those things that then we chase and we don't want to miss out turn out to be extremely underwhelming in the real experience. Because our projection of how it would turn out really underwhelms us.
Yeah.
And this is into the aspect of, or measured in terms of the value that, or the sacrifice that you gave for you not to miss out. The context, even this, and as it evolves, is that today you are constantly being reminded of what you are missing out via social media. Consistently, every click, every browsing is consistently reminding you that, hey, Joy, you're missing out there.
Yeah, there was a festival and you missed out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the days of our parents and our grandparents, the perception of missing out was very limited to your village or your town.
The hype wasn't as much as it is right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the missing out could only be in relation to a neighbor or a friend in church and that you see once on Sunday.
Yeah, true.
You are limited. Your scope is limited. You had no reference to another better life out there. But today, in the world of social media, it is a collection of all your friends, the past and present, all your acquaintances, and imaginary, for that matter, the people that you aspire to be.
Yeah.
A life of person in China is already on your screen. Someone in Hollywood is already on your screen.
Yeah.
In Beverly Hills. And it is consistently hitting on your mind that, hey, Joy, you're missing out. You're missing out.
Yeah.
This then missing out, it then elicits or sparks some catch-up action.
It's a trigger.
It's a trigger.
Yeah, it's a
it
trigger.
triggers some catch-up action. That, hey, I'm missing this. And then you realize then the way then your action is shaped is from a point of you want to live that life that you saw being there. Even that is why today there are things, there are aspects of, in social media and even branding, something called influencers. An influencer is someone you'll see and desire to be like them because they are reminding you that you are not living objectively.
You're missing out.
You're missing out.
You're behind.
When it comes to experience, there is nothing like an objective level of experience.
That's true.
We need to accept that. There's nothing like an objective level of experience and everything is relative. There's nothing like objective. It is in relation to.
Yeah, true.
So you are looking yourself from in relation to another person. The sad thing is that other person is a million people that you can see today by browsing. Some you know, some you don't know, some you'll never even be close to them. But they are there reminding you that your life could have been more better if you lived like me.
Yeah.
And most of the times, even as we analyze this fear of missing out, that is a trigger to make bad financial decisions, is that we forget the scripting part of it.
Yeah, we all script.
It's scripted life. But then if in your processing, in your thought does not seem like scripted.
It doesn't occur.
It
or you
does
don't
not
process
occur.
the scripted part, yes.
And then sometimes, especially to us who are young, I don't know, are you young?
Yeah, me, in my own right.
Okay. Especially to the young generation,
Yeah.
is that they tend to create some sadness. It has some sadness that you're not living that life.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not like them. It isolates you and brings an aspect of comparison. It is you versus them.
Yeah, but we usually say that comparison is like the stealer of joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even when you have achieved something, it tells to pace commensurate to the others that you're seeing. So it always reminds you that you're missing out. The thing to the aspect of the fear of missing out is that if not checked, it can lead you to make wrong decisions financially in terms of the things that you want to pursue.
And I think, Timothy, it's good for me to say, even as you say that, the thing about the fear of missing out is that you concentrate on the event or on the activity or on the object. You don't concentrate on the cost of the event, the cost of the object, or the cost of the thing that you're looking out for. For example, if it's a cloth, you're just concentrating at the color and how well it looks on that person. It doesn't hit your head that there's actually a cost implication to that. So most times are not, you when you go to buy the cloth, you're thinking, see, imenitosha tu kama niko sawa. It doesn't, you don't actually take time to think through So did I just spend like 5,000 on a two-piece? I mean, I'm just giving an example, yeah? So I think what you're saying is that with FOMO, you're very concentrated on the feeling and the experience you get. You're not concentrating on what is the actual cost. What am I paying for that experience? Yeah.
Exactly. And also, it puts a blinders on what you already have. So that you're not appreciating what you have as much. Because the context of what you have is in comparison with what you don't have.
Yeah, true.
Number two, and this is very relatable to women, is that sometimes even that life that you desire can never fit very well in you. For example, if today you observed a certain dress being worn by someone that you admire and reminds you that possibly you're missing out, you could be like them, only to wear it and forget there are things called body types. It does not fit in your body.
Yeah.
And similar, that's one example of a cloth, but even other things will not fit you because you are a unique creation.
Yeah.
Having your own life. So
The
even
issue
when
of being relative.
it will not be a plug and play for you. It will be disjointed. And you even struggle to fit that which you are desiring.
Yeah.
It consistently reminds you. But even sometimes, even as some of these experience is what I say, they are very underwhelming. Just when you're alive, you realize it is not as much.
Yeah.
The fulfillment is not as much.
Yeah.
And then putting that in relative to the cost and the price you paid, as you said, it has a financial implications.
Yeah.
It does not feel worth it. It underwhelms extremely. But before you got there, there was some sadness of you not achieving that was really painful. So there's a bit of imbalance between the sadness you experienced before you got there and the real experience.
Yeah, true.
And the sacrifice that then you had to sacrifice for you not to miss out.
And I think, Timothy, this speaks a lot into the motive for financial decision. Why do I make a particular financial decision? It could be because, like you're saying, I am fearing missing out. For example, I feel like if I don't go to Mara when everyone else is going to Mara, I am going to miss out on the wild beast moving. And I don't take time to think, like, am I even in a position to actually pay for that trip? So you concentrate so much, you're like, we will borrow. Once we have the experience, this is the story. And then by just making that one financial decision, it spirals to a completely different thing altogether. That it takes you so much time to even come out of, for example, debt. It takes so much time to even, for example, do something else. Because again, something else I've realized about finances and personal finance management is you have to literally sit down and prioritize. So what is important, what is urgent and important, what is urgent but not important, and what is not urgent and not important.
Exactly.
And those are hard things. So FOMO is actually like a serious trap that we need to look out for.
It's like a drug.
Yeah.
It's hitting you so much. It's like someone who is addicted to something. And then, the deficit of it creates a deep sadness in you. Yeah. And without control, sometimes we have different vulnerabilities in terms of our emotions. There are people who are more vulnerable. There are people who are able to control their emotions. If we don't understand ourselves better, we will be in this roller coaster of emotions and trying to fulfill some emotions. Remember what you said about trying to fit in. Yeah? And not sitting down and saying, hey, we're just learning in circles. Where are we going?
Yeah.
What the progress that we are making. Sitting down, even appreciating the progress of our own life. The progress of life is important to us. Let the G-Wagon with your friends not create sadness of your ownership of a Toyota. Have some time to appreciate your efforts in their own capacity.
I think, and that's a good thing you've said, Timothy. I think one of the things that I've picked from what you have just said is that FOMO actually literally trivializes the progress and achievements that you've made as a person. Like you've actually made progress, there's something you have done. But because you're missing out on something bigger, you don't even take time to take count of what you have done. And that's like a major issue right there. Because let me tell you, Timothy, beyond even making bad financial decisions, even from a psychological perspective, you become very stressed about things that are not even necessary. Yeah.
And that is what I say, there is a huge imbalance between the sadness you feel when you don't have something and the happiness or the pleasure you feel once you have achieved it. The sadness is so much deep, very, huge, and impactful on our lives. But just went to your life and, the situation is not as much as we projected. It then, understanding this, it then helps us to be a bit objective into the real value of life. Sometimes you don't even sit down and appreciate. Life is so simple. The things that are going on in your life, that you have an income, forget about the amount. You have an income, you have a family that are around you, you have a car. No, forget about the brand. You have a car, you have that home. Those are things that then are meaningful and more sustainable when then we try to look at them from the view of the meaningfulness of life. But the roller coaster of you trying to always chase after that which you don't have, the roller coaster of you trying to be where you don't fit, it is something that we need to deal with internally to evaluate our life. But even more important is what I said, know thyself. Know you're in the vulnerability gauge. Where are you? Are you more vulnerable? Are you less vulnerable?
Yeah.
Because when you are more vulnerable, it will help you be more conscious. Yeah, you be more conscious of what are the drivers of my decisions. Is it because someone else did or said or they are doing, or is it because I am objective?
Yeah.
Every time trying to back check yourself, it helps a lot in trying to create harmony in your life, but in trying to create long-term impactful decisions. That is FOMO. Number 2 of the booby traps, or what we're calling financial vulnerabilities and mistakes that can happen in your life. The drivers of the mistakes is something called signaling.
What is signaling?
Signaling, a signal.
You're sending.
It's a signal.
You're
You want to
sending
send
an
a
image.
signal. Yeah. If you look at our lives, is what I said in the last podcast. We always want to be admired. We want people to look up to us.
Validation.
And so we want to signal. We want to signal to Mefika. Sisi ni wale.
We have made it.
If I want to take you back, we have already said here that our life is not your own. We have shaped by experiences.
Yeah.
And experiences and our background lays us into a level that possibly we would not have expected. And we always then, it always shape our individuality or how we become when you have things that we missed out. For example, if I was raised into poverty, and this is very relatable to everyone who have been raised with lack. Yeah, you lacked some things when in your childhood, and when you work so hard, and there's a bit of some chance in your life, and you become prosperous, or you just become better, well off. You want to signal to people, and especially something called revenge spending. You want to remind those people that used to mistreat you. You are no longer the joy they used to mistreat. You want to revenge to them. You remember that neighbor in an old Datsun that they could not even give you a lift? That they used to look down on you? And now, you have been graceful enough and you have bought a new model of a car. You have some money. You want to scrub it on their face that I am not that person that used to look down upon. Now, if you look at the driver of that decision, it's a signal. It is a statement that you want to pass to people. Yeah, it is a statement that you want to revenge the feeling that you felt when you didn't have.
Yeah.
So that is very dangerous because it was not an objective decision. It was a decision that was driven by you wanting to scrub in on your face. Possibly with the funds you could have had, you could have afforded a nice premium and you drive it. You could have afforded it with ease. But because premium will not scrub it with the force that you need, you will take a loan and buy an Audi.
Rub it off.
To rub it all properly. You want the pain to sting deep. Not even forgetting.
It's like I'm going to make you feel what I felt or worse.
And the problem is you don't have the measure of how they will feel.
As a matter of fact,
what if you measured and realized they never felt anything?
As a matter of fact, sometimes you realize that people have moved on. So you're there busy trying to prove a point. No one really cares. And you get yourself in so much trouble financially with people who are just moving on with their lives. They have bigger issues to deal with than just look at this guy who made it the other day.
It's true. And there is an old justice mantra. In law, there's an old mantra that our learned friends keep on saying again and again and again. When it comes to justice not only need to be done, but has to be seen to be done. The seeing part is important in justice, which is the affirmation, corrective affirmation that justice was, which is important from a justice point of view, on the law, from a law point of view, justice point of view. So sometimes people want to transport that to their financial life. That I not only want to have money, I need to be seen to be having the money. Yeah. That is signaling.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how you hear people making jokes. And I mean, we laugh about it all the time. I want everyone to chop my money, mpewe on my bill. There's a signal you're trying to send, or there's something you're trying to communicate. Yeah.
It's already afforded.
And unfortunately, Timothy, let me tell you, signaling, you could send a signal and it's not the right signal. I mean, even when you're driving, you could be going left and you indicate you're going to the right. You've sent a signal, but it's the wrong signal. So even with finances, sometimes we're in this process of trying to rub it in, like you're saying, or prove a point to other people. But the route that you take or how you do it ends you up in so much trouble than you even were in. So, I mean, it's good for people to know that you have made it. We are not saying that you shouldn't, but really think through it. So I have sent the signal. Then what? Because in the previous episode, Timothy talked about us looking at the sustainability of the things that we do. So you're constantly sending signals to people that I have money, I have made it. And let me tell you guys, signaling happens in the minutest of ways. You don't even have to go to a club and spend 100,000 on drinks. Sometimes it's what you wear. Sometimes it's the car you decide. Sometimes it's where you decide to take your children to school. It's the neighborhood you live in.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what, Joy?
The brands you put on. Colognes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to signaling, you always interpolate yourself as this person in the arena that everyone is looking to.
Yeah, true.
People are busy with their own problems.
I know.
Sorting they don't have the capacity to concentrate on you. And what signal does in our finances, it creates a cost premium.
Yeah.
I wanted to do one, but unknowingly or unconsciously, I want to add a signal premium. So I end up overshooting the expenditure to acquire a bigger thing because I feel that I don't need this. If as simple as even a fridge, you'll buy a fridge, a big fridge. You don't even keep anything there. But when someone comes to your house and sees there is a fridge,
and they want to go inside, they've seen the fridge,
and it has morphed a lot of people.
Yeah.
To have a very bad relationship with money. Some people, if you compare their relationship with money, it is so brutal. It is so toxic. They look like the legendary Tom and Jerry. Yeah? It is like the legendary Tom and Jerry, that they cannot live in the same house because them living with the money and they have not spent, it is not, people don't know they have money. And so they have to spend for people to know they have money. It is such a toxic relationship. And I have always advised people that whenever you think about money, if money was a person and he was told to come here and confess, what type of a person could money say you are?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, there's a saying that says money has no morals or character. Money is not good or evil or bad. We keep saying that money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't have a character or personality on its own. Money, most times than not, speaks to the character of the one using it or the one who has the money. Yeah, yeah.
When you have a partner, what kind of a partner would you like? Just imagine the partner you have. A caring partner.
Reliable.
Someone who is reliable, who does not misuse
considerate.
You. Someone you can spend time with. That point, can you spend money with time? yourself and time? Can you spend a good...
I mean, in this age and era and in our generation, tunasema pesa ni ya kutumia. So
Unatumia. That is the problem.
Yeah.
Because if money was to testify how you misuse it, how you can't even live 3 days with it, you have to spend it. It is a toxic relationship.
But Timothy, let me tell you, unfortunately or fortunately, those things catch up. You know that signaling? Someone will do it consistently. And by the way, let me tell you, it doesn't have to be a year or two. It could even be 10 years. But have you ever heard of families who parents and relatives had a lot of money from the societal perspective? Like, mukiangalia mko like, hey, your familia iko na pesa. Like, these guys are good. And then the matriarch passes on, the guy who was ignoring. And you guys are even called to matangas, to changa, for the guy to be sent off. Because the reality is their financial statements are either in the negatives or there's actually nothing.
Actually,
This is someone who was running on debt. Before you know it, at least these days it's better because there's insurance. I mean, growing up, I had stories of people who are being auctioned. And yet in our village or in our town, that was the tycoon. That guy was it. That guy was it. We actually used to look at their children and you're thinking, yo, if I grow up and become like them, I've made it. Then something happens and you're just like, it feels like it was a smoke screen, literally. So all of a sudden, there's no money. All of a sudden, their kids cannot go to school. All of a sudden, they can't even, I'm telling you, bare minimum, bury this guy. Because all he has been doing his entire life is just sending signals, I have money. And we have a lot of those things. And unfortunately, I feel like the current generation that we are in right now, we are a generation of the end justifies the means. I mean, as long as someone shows they've made it, that is the script that we will buy and run with it. And so many of us make decisions because you're thinking, like you said, we all struggle with identity. Like, I want to belong somewhere. I want to be validated. So for you to belong in a particular group, you have to signal. Like, I mean, if you guys can spend 100,000, I can. So how do you do that? Signal, you can. Take them out, buy them drinks or do something. And before you know it, Timothy, those things become so bad. You either find people in serious debt, people going through mental health issues, and by the mental health can be caused by so many things. We're not just saying that mental health is an issue of financial distress, but I'm just saying that's ignoring the way you're calling it, Timothy, has brought big, great men and women down. Because again, unfortunately, if you're signaling, most times than not, the people you're hanging out with are also signaling.
You're all fakies living together.
Yes. Because I mean, birds of a feather flock together. Yeah. So ni kuchochana, like what we are calling these days kuchochana. We are signaling. Me, I come with a big car. My friend has to go and find a bigger car because we're in competition with each other. Like you said, comparison, you know. And I feel like just beyond the fear of missing out, that signaling, I think, is what we're struggling with. And that is where social media comes in. Where we all feel like these guys need to know. I wear the latest of clothes. I am trendy. You're signaling. There's a message you're trying to pass across without thinking, what is the cost to it?
Exactly. And let's go to the costs. It is to remind ourselves that you cannot have your cake and eat it.
True.
You either have money or the object or product.
Yeah, true. Or the item.
So today, if I have 10 million shillings, I can have 10 million shillings or have a Range Rover. I can't have both. So if I have a Range Rover to signal I have money, it is the easiest way of me losing the 10 million I'm trying to show I have. Because people will see my car and my big life and they interpret that as a reserve I have. That this guy's bought a 10 million car. He must be having a lot of money, not knowing that the money I could have had, I have spent showing you I have.
Well, the truth is also, Timothy, there are people who actually have Range Rovers and have 10 million in their accounts, but then those guys are not signaling. Someone actually has that car because they genuinely and legitimately have that money. So we are not talking about guys who have Range Rovers that you don't have 10 million in their account. You could have. There are people who have. So you could actually have assets and still have the money. The only thing we are saying is, have you actually gotten that the legit way, or if not even the legit way? Like, do you actually have money? Are you able to afford it? Because having something and affording it, those are two different things, you know? So like Timothy is saying, you have to make a decision as a person. For example, if my income level is 100,000 and I want to buy a land that is worth 100,000, then that means I can't have that income. I can't have money in the bank account. I'll have the land. So it's a decision you have to make. You have to optimally look at what is your utilization of things that you have. Because I think that's where Timothy was going with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even not forgetting that a lot of time we think on ourselves as the center of the action of the world. Signaling, there are places that signaling has value to the signaler. Yeah. And this one people have been a victim to that signaling. Some people want you to admire them so that they can trap you. It's a bait. The signaling is a bait. I have seen a lot of people who came to me and said, the reason I took this action is because I had seen the lifestyle of this person. And when I asked what they did, they sold me this. Yeah?
Yeah.
And especially for the young people, they want to be like the other young people, what they are doing. So a young person will go here, will take some 20,000 shillings or 50,000 shillings. They'll go rent a car and they show you off life. And then in the process, they tell you, do this if you want to buy the car. It's already a bait.
Yeah, true.
So the signaler and the person receiving the signal have to be conscious that this is a signal.
Yeah, very true.
Because they want you to admire them. That is how people have been lent to Ponzi schemes.
Yeah.
Why? Because someone signaled a certain life, and you as a receiver, because you are the receiver of the signal, once you received the signal, it ignited an action of inquiring, what does Joy do? And Joy tells you, we have this investment, we do A, B, C, D, only to realize the car that Joy signaled was not hers. The life that she signaled was not hers. It was a trap to entice you to act.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful as young people on the people we look up to. Are they authentically there? Or are they trying to buy us off? People will hire cars and go for a road trip and show you some kind of life so that as you admire, you generate interest and desire, and then right there is when they strike and sell you something. And you then interpreting that this is the thing, they will trap you and tell you, okay, actually to be where I am, you don't even need a lot of money. You just need 50,000 shillings or 100,000 shillings. And this is a young person who has been given school fees or is just has started earning, and this is all the savings they have, and they put it there.
Actually, Timothy, you're right. If you look through the history and look at Ponzi schemes or pyramid schemes that have been even in this country, Kenya, how people are got on board was signaling. Someone comes and tells you, dude, I had 100,000, I put it in this investment, and within 2 months, I had 1 million, and that's how I bought this car. So they've sent a signal to you, and without thinking or even taking time to evaluate what they have said, does it even real? Is it really, or is it magic? You heard of guys who sold plots and put money in those investment schemes. People who took out money from other assets and investment products, put money in that, and that's how it went. And that's how it went down. And the thing about signaling, it has a lot of... The idea behind signaling is to create hype and influence. Like you're looking for followers, and once you have them, you onboard them, and that's it.
That is it.
Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate. First, to the innocent signaler, where you're signaling and there is nothing you're achieving out of the signaling. It's actually a liability to you because you have sustained it. Because I've always asked myself, what is easier to sustain and maintain with ease? Signaling I'm poor or rich? Let me ask that question. What is easy for me to live with?
Well, I think for me...
If I projected that I'm rich, or I projected I'm poor, which is easier for me?
I think for me it's being poor because...
because it has no cost.
People know I have
it has
no
money. Expectations. Right? So if you look at the dynamics, it is much easier, comfortable for me to signal I don't have than to signal I have.
Well, that comes with the other side of it. From a social perspective, it is more costly to signal that you're poor. From a social perspective. But from a financial perspective, the reverse is true.
And even that social aspect is that, not so long you'll be exposed if you're fake.
Yeah, true.
Yeah? And it will have more social implications than you thought. So why don't we live authentically to the realism of what we have? That if I'm going to live a certain way of life, is because my income and my wealth level allows me to live at this certain of life. I am not fake.
Yeah.
I'm not faking. If I can afford a certain item, I can afford it with comfort, without extreme sacrifice, and without trade-offs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Can I have that balance that I can afford A, B, C, D? And once I afford that, I am affording it from a point of sustainability. I'm not struggling. It does not cost me. It does not have a trade-off that I picked from here and I pressed it here. Yeah. Why can't we strike a balance such that the life we are living is authentic? It is true.
Yeah.
And possibly, even when you are signaling, there are other areas you can signal. You can signal from the value you give to society. You don't have to be rich to be admired.
Yeah.
You can live virtuously and people admire you, like someone who is virtuous. Yeah. You can live well and respectably without necessarily signaling a certain level of wealth. The problem is that in this side of the world, we have attached a huge premium on being rich or being seen to be rich, that you've forgotten, like, life is more than that.
Yeah.
And there's something called, remember the utility, declining marginal utility of money. And the more you have, the less it makes sense to you.
Very true.
And life can be so meaningful in so many ways, like having a loving family and, tendering partners and, a society and that appreciates you and you have real impact on them. And even those people who have achieved that, they try a lot to give back to society because it's more gratifying. There are many things that are gratifying to us that you can forward to. So if there are two things that I would like us to consciously evaluate, is FOMO and signaling. You can have money and not spend it, and you'll not die. Yes.
Yes, and even as we come to the end of this episode, it's good for you to ask yourself, so what do I really fear missing out? And when I fear missing out on that thing, what does it lead me to? Like, what decisions do I make? Financially, from a social perspective, because it affects quite a number of perspectives: spiritual, physical, financial, mental. It's good to think through it. And then look at aspects and areas of your lives. What are you signaling? Like, where do you know for sure you're not authentic? Like, this is actually a smoke screen and it's a facade that I'm creating. Qua ground, things are very different. So let's have those conversations. Please share this with your friends. Have conversations around it. Give us comments. Tell us what else you'd want us actually to cover, even as we continue to engage and interact with you. So thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to the next one. Keep it locked. Thank you.